My name is Alex. I'm with a company called Blue Vishnu, and our mission is to unlock human potential with an avatar platform. So what does that mean? I'm actually going to explain it. It's a pretty simple thesis, but and then I'll explain it in a second. But first, by show of hands, who here, within the last, say, 6 months, who here has tried to get in shape in the last 6 months? Okay, that's about a third of you. Congratulations. Who's planning on it soon? Anybody planning on it soon? That's probably the rest of you eventually. Those of you who have understand all too well that that doing this kind of getting into shape, changing your behaviors, it's actually really hard. It's about changing behaviors, and a lot of that is doing delayed gratification. You really have to sacrifice something that you want to do now for something that you're going to get later. You know, we all understand what behaviors are good for you and what behaviors are bad for you. We all get it. Save for retirement, quit smoking, adherence to doctor's prescriptions. But maintaining these things, sticking with these things are really hard. This is really well illustrated by the marshmallow test. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with it. It's hard because it's really impossible to properly visualize long-term consequences of your current lifestyle habits. Okay, so making meaningful changes really is about these tricky life hacks or abstract thinking. So we know what's good for us, we know what's bad for us, but adherence is generally poor and lasting change becomes elusive. Well, imagine, if you will, you had an avatar that could let you easily visualize your future self. Now imagine you had tools that could help you maintain that future and do things like course correcting and shifting behaviors. And imagine you're able to use those tools to build your future and effectively build a roadmap to the version of you that you want to become. This is what I've dedicated my life to doing, and this is what my team and I are doing, which is building these avatars and 3D scans. And we have a 3D scanner over in the iLab. I encourage you all, if you haven't tried it yet, to try it. But basically, it's quite simple. It's a bunch of cameras, and we collect a bunch of photos, and we put them all together to create a very realistic-looking 3D scan and avatar of you. And that looks very realistic. It's very accurate, right down to the millimeter. And we can do really cool things, like we can actually take a skeleton, attach it to you, and rig it up, and even animate. So just with one single scan, you can get this entire animated model, and even a aspirational version of yourself. So really the central question for all this to work is, can your avatar be a useful tool to affect change, to actually move the needle on becoming the version of you that you want to become? I've had my own experience with this. A few years ago, I actually had a 3D scan of myself, and I'm going to show you guys. And frankly, I was pretty surprised at what I saw. This actually is a perfect example of a version of me that frankly, I was very surprised to see. It's a perfect example of a mismatch between the me that I thought I was and the me that I actually was, and I could tell very, very quickly that all the things that I was giving myself credit for, like I was doing yoga 3 times a week, not really. I had stopped 3 months before. I was eating healthy, sure, but I was also snacking, and I was doing all of these things and just kind of only including the things that I wanted to. So there's this giant gap between who I thought I was and my behaviors and what I was actually doing. And this really set me on a course of intention. And I wound up, over the course of 5 weeks, dropping almost 20 pounds. A lot of that was due to some basic lifestyle changes. I stopped eating dairy, and I was really just mindful about my behaviors. But you can see, over the course of those 5 weeks, you can see a difference. And it was really cool. It was really cool to see that. But then we decided, well, what would happen if I took this same information? So the whole time I'm going on this weight loss, I'm tracking some points, and so tracking some lean mass, fat mass, and the question is, what would happen if we projected a few months into the future? What would I look like maybe 6 months into the future? And so we gave it a shot, and what you see is a artist rendering of a future version of me. And I gotta tell you, this was hugely inspirational. I don't actually have that six-pack. That's something I'm still working towards. But I have since then maintained that same weight loss and actually gotten pretty close to where I had wanted to be. So it was a really powerful experience. So it's not just body shape. There are other things that we get out of all of those images, because they're all these big cameras with great imaging. So we can actually get some really useful dermatological information. So imagine you can scan your entire body and get information about areas of your skin that you weren't even concerned about, or you weren't even sure that you needed to keep an eye on. Finally, I started this company with my late wife, Molly, and that's Molly. She passed away of cancer a few years back. Daniel knew her. She was, some of you might have met her. And she had cancer the whole time that we were working on the company. So a few years back, we actually did a 3D scan of her and created this was back in 2018, so what was at the time one of the most realistic, real-time avatars of a human that was on the planet. And this is just a real-time rendering of Molly, and you're looking through the camera of a VR headset, and the lights are reacting in real time. There's somebody holding virtual lights in the scene, and it's reacting in real time. You know, I'd love for Molly to someday meet my kids, and because we did this, that's possible. So being able to use this stuff for legacy is not just this abstract idea. For me, it's something that's very personal. That's my time. I'm really excited about where we're going, and you know, since I introduced Blue Vishnu on this stage a few years ago, at the time it was a vision and a prototype. And since then, we've built a bunch of hardware and software systems around bringing all of this at scale. And that's really where we're at right now. We're preparing to build out one of the largest 3D body data sets in history. So just think about the possibility to utilize that for training on AI models. Imagine being able to use that for predicting outcomes for your patients. Or imagine being able to use that to take control over your future. We still have a lot of work to do, but we've passed a major milestone, and I'm happy to share that with all of you guys here today. If you haven't gotten a scan, we're over at the iLab. Please do so. Thank you again, Daniel, and thank you all for your time.